Alrighty, time for me to strip the engine down. Hopefully there's no bad news. I don't think there's gonna be any bad news, but it's Toyota and it's me, and I drive the crap out of this poor little car. Drive it way harder than I really should have, but I'm out here getting some caffeine in. And got the engine sitting right here. I got my makeshift shop light up here because these went out, and I removed the ballast and put some cheap LEDs in there, and the LEDs took a crap. And so I tried replacing them with one that supposedly were going to work without a ballast, but then the thing just sparked and went out, and yeah, whoops. Popped the breaker. Oops. So now I got to find out where I ordered bulbs from or just replace it. Anyway, beside the point, that doesn't matter. So I'm going to start by getting this thing in time, and then I'm going to go ahead and strip her down and kind of do it piece by piece. We'll take things off and see what we can find. So let's get moving. Well, apparently I missed a care package dropped off by Alex, so thanks, Alex. Sorry I missed you. I was doing things and stuff. Alrighty, the engine is mostly stripped down. I think I'm actually going to go a little bit further with this than I initially planned and go ahead and tank this block and clean it up really good. Maybe I won't, I don't know, we'll see. I would just really like to get it a lot cleaner than it could be. So, I still got this set of accessory brackets on there. These are off, they're super covered in crap and dirt. And then I'm debating on probably just pulling the cylinder head as a unit with the manifolds and everything on there, because there's really no need for me to change them out. So I think I'm going to do that next. We'll pop the cylinder head off and we'll see how it looks on the inside. This is going to be the moment of truth as to how this engine has fared the last 30,000 miles of abuse. So anyway, I think I'm going to break the manifold bolts, or the head bolts free, reverse from the actual torque sequence of what they're supposed to be. So I'm going to go quick look that up in the factory service manual and then go ahead and break them free and then pop this head off, and then we'll see how it looks on the bottom. And then after that, we'll rotate it and pull the oil pan off, and that'll be the final moment of truth to see how everything looks. So, alrighty, let's keep moving forward. Alrighty, little update time. Got all the head bolts broke free and completely removed. Couple little tips that I can give you is this bolt right here in the middle, right there, that kind of goes where that oil drain is. That one's a little bit difficult to get out. If you look, there's a little bit of a notch in the camshaft. Let's see if I can't get this to load right. See right there, there's a little notch. You kind of got to get that notch pointed just directly upright in order to get that bottom bolt out that's in there. And then when you're pulling these out, make sure you get all the little washers with them too. The washers are over here. These are oriented. They do have to go a certain way. It's going to be flat side down with the bevel up. It's probably a little bit difficult to see with the light. The lighting is not great exactly for what I'm doing right now, but let's see if I can zoom out and then maybe zoom in. Yeah, you can kind of see flat on the bottom, bevel on top. So make sure you get those things out. These bolts are reusable, so don't sweat it. Obviously, if one's damaged or one is visibly stretched or they were extremely over-torqued, probably not worth doing or reusing. And if it gets to that point, go ahead and message me. I probably got a crap ton of head bolts that I can send your way for a whole lot of nothing. So anyway, if my memory serves, I don't think there's anything else really for me to pull off of here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to lift it off and find the tensile strength of whatever I forgot to disconnect. But I'm pretty sure there ain't nothing. Oh yeah, there's that bracket down there. Ha ha ha! So I'm gonna pull that bracket out, then pull the cylinder head off. So don't forget that bracket, life pro tip. And then fingers crossed it looks good underneath here, so let's keep moving forward. Alrighty, well, cylinder head is off. I'm just kind of letting her drip dry down over there right now. I'm probably going to take care of the cylinder head a little bit later. First things first, I'm going to keep going forward with the block. There's no ring ridge at the top at all, which is phenomenal to see. Definitely a lot of carbon buildup, but she's been running stupid rich for a long time, so that's not too surprising. But anyway, I'm not going to actually focus on cleaning the cylinder head off just yet. I'm actually going to go ahead and flip this thing over and pull the oil pan off and then see how everything looks underneath there. And kind of go forward from there. And then I'm going to actually show you guys a little trick. You can probably see a couple little holes that are drilled in this gasket that are not normal. This is actually from a forum member, but I'll get to that point when we get there. And I'm going to also give you another little tip about laying the head gasket down, because you can put them on upside down. Ask me how I know. For real, ask me how I know. I can tell you the dumb story. But anyway, time to keep moving forward, rotate this engine over, and get the pan off. So, oops, I'm making a mess down there. Yikes. Alrighty, anyway, let's keep moving forward. Alrighty, well, nothing but good news so far, thankfully. Got the pan off down here. Everything's looking really nice inside the block. I took my gloves off like an idiot already. But let me get a little rag so I can pick this up. After I rebuilt this engine, I threw a magnet on the outside, regretfully. I should have thrown it on the inside to see if it would pick up any metal. And you can see right there, dry as a bone. Well, not dry as a bone because it's wet, but there's no metal on it, thankfully. So glad to hear that. You can kind of see right here where my JB Weld block went. This is the JB Weld actually right here that I did to fix the oil leak. So thankfully it worked. It was kind of crap, but it worked. I don't know. I think I might maybe put some more JB Weld over there. I might just change the pan out. I do got like 4 engines. 1, 2, 3, 4 more engines sitting over here right now. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, pickup tube looks nice and clean. There's a teeny little bit of like maybe some RTV right there from probably when I did all this. But anyway, that's a huge deal. And yeah, win-win-win all around. Again, score. Happy to see all this. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to strip it down or not. I think I might just leave everything together and then just give it a reseal and screw everything else. I might just brake clean the outside and paint it black and put it back. You know, good old Craigslist rebuild. And then clean the head gasket off, put a new gasket on it, and do some mods, and then dump her back in. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break, go grab a burrito, and then keep moving forward. Burrito time. Yummy. Alrighty, well, I've been getting the engine apart slowly, piece by piece. Everything looks really good inside of here. There's a bit of carbon buildup, not that that's terribly surprising. But unfortunately, if you look right about here, there is a nice groove in the end of the crankshaft right here. And that would be the reason as to why the sleeve was leaking so bad. Because where's the old oil pump? The old oil pump is somewhere. Right here. Here. The seal looks pretty nice inside of here, but it's definitely got a gouge on there, so I really don't want to just throw it back together and deal with this leak again. So I'm gonna order a speedy sleeve from Rock Auto and then hope for the best. Unfortunately, well, I got the oil pump laying here. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out. In the factory service manual right here, there's some measurements as to how to test it, if it's actually good or not, with some end play specifications. So I got a set of feeler gauges right here, and then I got a set of snap ring pliers right here, so I can pop this little ring out over, where's it at? Hello, look at this order. Come on, moron, right there. Duh. I'm an idiot. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and set you up on a tripod, and we'll go ahead and get this thing split apart and see how everything looks inside, just for fun, since I got now a few days to wait for a crankshaft speedy sleeve. Boo. Let's go ahead and get this little snap ring out of here. Hopefully these will be the right size. I might need some 45-degree ones. Oh, no. I think we got it. Yeah, I got it. There we go. Snap ring out. Plunger out. There's a spring. And inside of there, there's the thing, a little plunger. Let's see if I can't fish this thing out. Probably gonna need a magnet, even though it's probably actually gonna be aluminum. Alrighty, so got the bolts all out of here. Took a little bit of time, but they're finally all out. Give everything just a quick light brake clean bath, so that way it's at least somewhat less oily, which it's not at all. Just feels like it anyway. But anyway, what we're going to be looking for is, from the body to the pump over here is supposed to be 8 thousandths or 0.2 millimeters. So, I don't know if this is metric or freedom units, so let me figure this out real quick. Come on out. This is actually one of my grandfather's old feeler gauge sets, so cool to be using this. I'm sure he'd be proud that I'm working on a Japanese car when he was a die-hard Ford guy. Oh, these are like almost illegible. What the heck sizes even are these? Look at that. You can't even hardly see anything. Well, sorry, Grandpa. I love your tools, and I'm thankful to have them, but this ain't gonna do me good. Okay, back with the good old China freight set. And again, we are looking for 0.008 or 0.2 millimeters. Which that's this right here. That is the maximum clearance between the body of the pump and this gear right here. So make sure there's not two feeler gauges stuck together, because it happens sometimes when these are in the thinner sizes. And I'm not getting 8 in there. And then maximum clearance is 13 thousandths for the between, it looks like, this gear right here and that gear right there. So go ahead and find 35, 1.138, 0.14 millimeters, be close enough. So let me make sure I'm double looking at this correctly. So the manual over here is looking at between that half moon right there and then these two gears right there. So let's go ahead and try that right now on here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it's not even wanting to fit in there at all. I could almost force it in just ever so slightly, but I don't think this oil pump is actually bad at all. It's probably good. But really no point in me saving it. I might as well just go ahead and replace it. I've got it all the way apart, got it all the way here. But that's how you check an oil pump to see if it's good. Obviously another easy way to do it is just to hook a gauge up to it and see how it goes pressure-wise. But if you're ever curious, this is available in the factory service manual along with lots of other super useful information. So please download it. It is absolutely free on the Tercel 4-wheel drive forum. And it will save your life, I'm sure, because it has saved mine many times. So I think from now, let's go ahead and move forward on to cleaning this thing up. Get the cylinder head, gasket surface all cleaned up, clean some carbon off the piston tops, and do some other stuff. So let's get moving. Ooh, I should go get a trash can. Big brain move. Trash can! Oh man, this box is like all splitting. What a horrible trash can you turned out to be. You suck. Alrighty, so for the next thing up, I'm going to be sanding the head down, or sorry, sanding the block down where the head gasket meets, right here. I'm going to actually start with a pretty fine sanding paper. If your head hasn't never been off, or hasn't been off in a very long time, and the gasket material's stuck on there really super bad, I'd probably recommend starting with like 180 or 220, but I'm going to start with 320 because this is already really smooth. Most of the gasket material already came right off. So I'm just going to make a quick pass with sandpaper. You want to be pretty good about cleaning this process up and making sure you clean everything up really well, because you don't really want a bunch of stuff getting in your oil system and in your coolant passages and stuff like that. But your oil filter will do a decent job, so don't be super afraid of it. But plus, when you got the oil pan off, there's tons of holes inside of here that lead straight down. So, but either way, I'm going to go ahead and Start handing it down. I'm gonna brake clean off everything really good. Probably spin the engine over, brake clean all the holes out, and let everything kind of fall on out. Make sure everything stays up pretty nice. And that's really about it. So here's some 320 grit sandpaper right here. So I'm gonna make a couple passes. We'll see how this thing looks. I have a feeling it's gonna turn out perfectly fine.
To get Darter working, because he's a funnier character than we've ever had.
Isolate myself from the outside. I'm sucking out my head on the inside.
Oh, it looks pretty good already. I'm pretty happy with that. I think before I throw it together, I might make one more quick pass with the new piece of sandpaper, because obviously 320 grit fills out pretty fast. There's a lot of gasket material on it, but that looks pretty nice. Definitely pretty smooth. Feels really nice. Granted, I'm wearing gloves, so it ain't the perfect example, but alrighty, this camera angle probably isn't great. I apologize in advance, but it's kind of the best I can do with a tripod. Otherwise, I gotta lay it in between a bunch of junk that ain't really gonna work quite right. So, next up on the list is going to be pulling the valve stem seals out. This is actually a fairly simple process. It just takes a little bit of time. A couple of tools you're gonna need is a valve stem seal or a valve spring compressor, which I got one right over here. Right here, that's about what they look like. You can pick these up at most auto parts stores for a whole lot of nothing. Otherwise, you can get them on Amazon and the usual places, the eBay and the whole 9 yards like that. So that's gonna be what I hop onto now. So first, I gotta get this rocker cover off right here. This is the rocker arms off. There's 5 bolts right there. Alrighty, get all these loose, loose. And the last two in the middle here, loose. Alrighty, off comes the rocker arms. Oh, April Fools. There's a bolt over here. Forgot about these. Derp de derp. There we go. Now they're all loose. Make sure these are out of their threads completely. They are. Out of their threads completely. They are. Alrighty, so this is going to be a little bit of a mouth tutorial on how to pull out the valve stem seals and change these out. They're pretty simple to do. Forgive me for the horrible camera angles, but the best I can do with my tripod. Anyway, let's look at about that right there. So, like I said earlier, what you're going to need is a little valve spring compressor tool, and really all you got to do, there's going to be a couple of keepers on here, and then, which is like 2 V-shaped clamps that kind of hold them in place. Guys sometimes sockets over top of them, hit them with hammers. That totally works fine. I prefer to do it this way. It's probably a little bit slower, but it also for sure knows, I also for sure know that everything's getting in and out the way it needs to be. But basically what you want to do is you kind of line that up inside of the springs right here, and then tighten this thing up. And what it's going to do is it's going to slowly put pressure down on there and release the springs from these little keepers inside of here. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. So now one thing you're going to want is a magnetic pickup tool. I find it's a lot easier with a magnet. Maybe you don't, but I certainly will. So now that we get this thing to kind of drop down a little bit, let's wonder if I can zoom in a little bit on the subject. Quality's probably going to be piss poor terrible, but this will maybe help out. So you're going to want to push this down. When you push this down, it pulls these keepers out of here. Oh, of course, my magnet pickup tool's too stupid big to fit in there. There's going to be one on each side. There are going to be little half moon keys. There we go. Let me zoom out a little bit to a more normal camera angle. And this is basically what these things look like right here. Little half moons. And then they just kind of grip into the bottom of the valve. And they kind of hold the valve in place. They're tapered up towards the top. So the big side will be at the top and the small side will be at the bottom. Just like that right there. Hopefully these camera angles work out, guys. I apologize if they do not. I will get better at this as time goes on, I promise. And then once we do that, we just kind of pop this thing out right here, and then that exposed the valve stem seal. Now, typically symptoms of this when they're junk is that you'll have smoke on startup because a bit of oil will be filling inside of the combustion chamber. From inside here, it'll kind of bleed through the bottom of the valve. So, easiest way to really pull these things off is mostly just a flathead screwdriver. And just take it. You don't want to gouge into the valve at all. Just kind of grab the base of the seal, pop them up like this. You'll see they'll kind of start pulling the valve with it a little bit. Another indication that these are probably actually good is because the valve is not actually falling down. Typically when these things are wore out, when you pull this thing off and you pull the valve up to the very top, it'll kind of want to fall down. See, this one's kind of holding itself in place, which tells me these seals are actually probably good. I'm probably wasting my time changing them, but I got it apart. It's never going to be an easier time, so I might as well just do it. Hey, you guys went flying off the tripod and went for a ride. Anyway, back to the task at hand. There we go. Off they go. Yeah, these things actually looked pretty good. They don't think they were bad at all. So you know how it's off? The valve wants to fall up and down instantly, whereas before with that seal on there, it was dragging. Good indication that that seal was actually still good and was kind of a waste of time for me to change. But again, never going to be easier for me to change these parts. I might as well knock it out. Otherwise, I got to take a whole ton of time pulling the valve cover off and doing this inside the engine, which can be done. You just got to fill it with rope or compressed air, and it's a whole lot of nonsense that I don't want to deal with, so we're not going to do it. Alrighty, so here's my new valve stem seals right here. These are just in a random gasket kit that I got from something. I don't remember when, where, why, or how. I believe it came with a car that I bought, but I don't recall exactly. But what I'm going to do to go ahead and drop these things on here after I pull them out, is I'm going to take a little bit of ATF. Just some good old plain Jane Dextron 3 ATF, and I'm going to dump it inside of the valve stem seal inside of here and a little bit on the end of the valve right there. What that's going to do is just kind of give it a good lubrication. You can use engine oil. Some guys will use engine assembly lube. I've always just used ATF. It's always been fine with me. So let's go ahead and dabble a little on there. Slide that on through. Gotta push that down just over the edge right there. And you want to basically get it over the little lip and bottom it out right there. And that's it. See how I pull it up? Valve is staying. It's good news. It means we're together. So what's next is we're going to pop this thing back on here. We kind of line that up. Looks like I'm going to have to kind of fight this a little bit because it gripped the spring a little weird, but not a huge deal. So let's go ahead. Maybe I think I brought it in here this way. Yeah, that's probably how I did it. So let's pull this valve all the way up to the top because it's going to be a lot easier with the less amount of distance we got to go to push these seals back down. And then what we want to do is just kind of push it inside and get these keepers back in place. Now remember, they're going to go V-shaped up, so kind of like this. That's how they're going to sit inside there, just like that. So you want to just kind of, get you kind of lined up in there like that. And get this one kind of laid up in here like this. And then we push this thing back down. Okay, now we got both keepers back in place. Be a little bit difficult to see, but they're laid out in place right there. So what we're going to do is just kind of thread this back out. There we go. We'll get that loose, and then this kind of pop right off, and bam. That's it. That's really all there is. Typically a good idea to take a socket that kind of fits over top of it, lay it like so, give it a good whack, just to double check that everything's seated properly. Because if the keeper goes flying out at that point in time, it's going to be way better to have it go flying out right now versus have it flying out when the engine's running and have it tear everything up and break everything to pieces. So that's really all there is to it. There's only 8 because there's 2 valves per cylinder and there's 4 cylinders on this engine. So super simple, super straightforward. Take your time, knock them out one by one, and you'll be glad you did it. It's definitely worth its weight in gold to do. Alrighty, well, we're going to go ahead and knock out, clean up the cylinder head gasket. More or less going to be the exact same process as I did with the engine block. If I can find my razor blade, I kind of just flipped her over a little bit and got her laying on the crank pulley a little bit. Maybe a little bit resting on the filter of the carburetor, but that's not a huge deal. Where did I put that razor blade at? Oh, there it is. Just gotta find what I'm looking for. So I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of do the same thing. Just kind of scrape all this little bit of material off here. Get her looking fairly decently clean. Clean out some of the carbon and then hit it with some sandpaper again. And that really should be all it needs. I should probably check it for straightness, which I can probably do a little tutorial on how to do that too with the straight edge. It's pretty simple. Straight edge and a feeler gauge. If you got this far into it, I'm pretty sure you can figure out how to do that. But anyway, I will probably just kick forward on a time lapse and stop rambling, and then you guys can watch me scrapey for what is going to feel like an eternity. Well, I think I'm probably going to call it a day here, unfortunately. There's really not a ton else that I can exactly do, unfortunately. I will probably bring the oil pan to work, and I'm going to throw it in one of our tanks and get it really cleaned up and really washed up and looking pretty nice. But really beyond that, there's nothing else super exciting for me to do until the speedy sleep gets in, so kind of a bummer, but I guess that's how it goes sometimes. Welcome to working on old cars, especially old Toyotas. It could be a lot worse. I could have a tore up crank, and I could have a cracked piston, and a million other things. So I'll take it. That's not too bad. Yeah. If you guys have any questions on anything at all, or are looking for any specific information, feel free to comment below. I'll happily answer any questions you guys might have about any of the processes with this. And that's gonna be it for me today. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you at the next one. Thanks again. Adios.